Hey everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm an ex-Amish girl from Pennsylvania. I grew up in Lancaster County in the heart of Amish country, and I left the community about 5 years ago. Today I want to talk about something people are really curious about, but rarely get honest answers on, and that's what actually happens on an Amish wedding night. Now before we get into this, I need to tell you something important. Hollywood and TV shows have given you this totally wrong picture of the Amish. They make it seem mysterious and secretive, and people imagine all these wild scenarios. But the truth? It's way more practical and a lot less romantic than you'd think. And that's what I'm here to share with you today, the real story from someone who actually lived it. So let me start by painting you a picture of what an Amish wedding day actually looks like, because you can't understand the wedding night without understanding everything that leads up to it. First off, Amish weddings happen during a very specific time of year. We're talking late October through March when farm work is slow. You won't find an Amish wedding in the summer because everyone's too busy with harvest. And they happen on Tuesdays or Thursdays, not weekends like English weddings. The wedding takes place at the bride's family home. And when I say home, I mean they literally transform the entire house and yard to accommodate anywhere from 400 to 600 guests. Sometimes they even build temporary structures just to fit everyone. Now here's where it gets intense. The wedding day starts at 4 in the morning, yes, 4 a.m. Because even though it's your wedding day, the cows still need to be milked and all the regular farm chores still need to be done. There's no such thing as taking the day off in Amish culture, even for your own wedding. The ceremony itself starts around 8:30 in the morning and goes for 3 to 3.5 hours. No joke. You're sitting on hard wooden benches listening to sermons in Pennsylvania Dutch, singing hymns without any musical instruments, and the whole thing is incredibly solemn. There's no walking down the aisle to music, no first kiss at the altar, no photographer capturing the moment. The bishop takes you and your new husband aside during the ceremony, gives you private counseling and his blessing, and then you come back and say your vows in front of the entire congregation. After the ceremony comes the meal, and food is a huge deal at Amish weddings. The traditional meal is roasted chicken with stuffing, mashed potatoes, and creamed celery. That celery isn't random, by the way. It's actually a symbol of fertility and good luck in our culture. Guests eat in shifts because there's just too many people to feed at once, and the bride and groom with their immediate families eat first. The celebration goes all day. There's no dancing because that's not allowed, but there's volleyball, singing, games, and lots of socializing. By the time evening rolls around, they serve another full meal. We're talking about a wedding that literally lasts from before sunrise until late into the night. Now, here's what people don't realize. By the time the wedding night actually arrives, you are absolutely exhausted. We're talking about being awake since 4 in the morning, being on display for hundreds of people, eating heavy food, and dealing with the emotional intensity of the biggest day of your life up to that point. You're not thinking about romance. You're thinking about how tired your feet are and how much your face hurts from smiling. And here's the part that really surprises people. There is no honeymoon. Zero, none. When I tell people this, they can't believe it. In the English world, you get married and then you disappear for a week or two to some romantic destination. That doesn't happen in Amish culture. Instead, the first night as a married couple is spent at the bride's parents' house. You sleep in a bedroom in her family's home, and let me tell you, there is absolutely no privacy. Her parents are right there, her siblings are right there, and everyone knows exactly where you are. And it gets better. The next morning, you wake up early again, and you spend the entire day helping to clean up from the wedding. All those benches need to be stacked, all those dishes need to be washed, all the temporary structures need to be taken down. The bride and groom are expected to be right there, working alongside everyone else, cleaning up the mess from their own wedding. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about intimacy? What about being alone together? Here's the honest truth. Many young Amish couples have already spent significant time alone together before marriage through a practice called bundling or bed courtship. This is something that's not talked about openly, but it absolutely happens in many Amish communities, including the one I grew up in. Bundling is this old tradition where a young man would come to visit a young woman and they would lie in bed together, fully clothed. Originally, there was supposed to be a board down the middle of the bed to keep them separated, but in modern times, that board mostly disappeared. The idea was that you could kiss and hug and get to know each other in a warm, private place without actually having intercourse. But here's the reality: that doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to. Pregnancies before marriage happen more often than the community likes to admit. And when that happens, there's a rush to get the couple married before it becomes obvious. So for many couples, the wedding night isn't actually their first time being intimate or alone together. They've already been through bed courtship, maybe for months or even years. The wedding night is just the first time it's officially sanctioned by the church and community. But even if a couple has been through bundling, the wedding night itself is still not this big romantic moment you see in movies. You're in your in-laws' house, you're exhausted, the walls are thin, and you know you have to be up early the next morning to start cleaning. There's no champagne, no rose petals, no fancy lingerie. The bride is wearing a simple white nightgown, probably made by her mother or grandmother, and the groom is in his regular night clothes. And here's something else that's really important to understand. Amish culture doesn't talk about sex openly. There's no sex education, no books or magazines explaining what to expect, no mother-daughter conversations about intimacy. Everything you learn comes from whispered conversations with married friends or from your own experience during courtship. So for couples who didn't practice bundling, the wedding night can be awkward and confusing because nobody prepared them for it. The days and weeks after the wedding are also completely different from English culture. Instead of going on a honeymoon, the couple spends the next several months visiting relatives. It's called visiting the neighbors, and it's this tradition where you go stay at the homes of various aunts, uncles, and extended family members, sometimes for weeks at a time. You're helping them with work, having meals together, and basically showing off that you're now a married couple. You're never really alone. You're always surrounded by family and community. Eventually, the couple moves into their own place, but even that's not always immediate. Many young couples live with either the bride's parents or the groom's parents for months or even years after marriage, depending on their financial situation. Some might rent a small apartment above a workshop or a garage apartment from a non-Amish neighbor. But the idea of having your own private space right away, that's not really the Amish way. I think the biggest difference between Amish wedding nights and English wedding nights comes down to expectations. In the English world, the wedding night is built up as this magical, romantic, pivotal moment. It's supposed to be perfect and special and memorable. But in Amish culture, marriage isn't about romance or personal fulfillment. It's about duty, family, and continuing the community. The wedding night is just the beginning of a lifelong partnership focused on work, children, and maintaining the Amish way of life. When I left the Amish community and started experiencing the outside world, one of the biggest culture shocks for me was seeing how much emphasis English people put on romantic love and personal happiness in marriage. In my community, you married someone who was a good worker, who shared your faith, and who would be a good parent. Love was something that was supposed to grow over time through shared work and shared values, not something that had to be there from the beginning. Looking back now, I can see both the good and the challenging parts of how the Amish approach marriage and wedding nights. On one hand, there's a lot less pressure. You're not expected to have this perfect romantic moment. You're not comparing your experience to movies or social media. You're just two people starting a life together, and that life is going to be filled with hard work, family, and community, not grand romantic gestures. On the other hand, there's a real lack of preparation and communication. Young people go into marriage without really understanding what they're getting into, physically or emotionally, and the complete lack of privacy, especially in those early days and weeks, can make it really hard to build intimacy and connection as a couple. So that's the real answer to what happens on an Amish wedding night. It's not mysterious or exotic or particularly romantic. It's exhausted newlyweds sleeping in the bride's childhood home, knowing they have to get up early to clean up from their wedding, surrounded by family, with no honeymoon and no privacy. It's practical, it's community-focused, and it's rooted in the Amish values of hard work and duty over personal pleasure. I hope this gave you some real insight into what life was actually like for me growing up Amish. If you have questions or want to hear more about my experiences, leave them in the comments below. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe because I've got so many more stories to share about what life in the Amish community is really like, not the Hollywood version, but the real, everyday truth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.